Andy Pearson, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I love the idea behind this whole thing.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's very anti-algorithm. Just get suggestions from your friends type of thing.
Yeah. Well, you really have to distill down like who you are. It was a lot of work. I like switched out my list 5 different times in my mind because I wanted to get it right.
Did you really? I have a
Oh yeah.
friend I asked to be on here, and she has like 3 separate lists that she sent me, and she's like, I don't know, this is going to be really difficult. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? You can pick them, or I can pick them. We want to make this hard. So yeah. So we have your list of 5 things. We might as well get into it, right? Um, Back to the Future 2, I think is a fun movie pick. I'm curious. Maybe it's an age thing, but 2 is not a lot of people know Back to the Future. Not as many people
Yeah.
know Back to the Future 2. What's the story with that?
Um, I think it's a little bit kind of personal, um, because it was one of those. My parents taped movies off of like ABC onto VHS. When it'd be like on, like running on live, and then they would tape it. And so that's how we had movies in my house growing up. Was we didn't pay for movies, we like taped them off of TV. And I had like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure for some reason, and then all the three Back to Back to the Future movies. And so anytime I was homesick when I was younger, growing up, I would pop in those movies, and those would be what I watched all day when I was sick. But I think two is such a fascinating movie because it's twisting all these different timelines, and what I really loved was the future aspect of it, where they go, into the future, into, what was it, 2014, I think. And in retrospect, what I think I love so much about that was they incorporated all these real brands into it, where in the future it was like the Pizza Hut pizza, she's like, rehydrate level 4, please. His mom, and they have like a Texaco gas station, and they have all these like brands that they brought into the future, and imagine what they're gonna feel like, 30 years into the future. And I think as a kid, that was just really cool to see, and I think it makes the movie even more compelling. And again, now that like I am in advertising and marketing, I think there's some kind of magic there. It was kind of maybe one of the first times I noticed brands in a way. But yeah, it's so, I don't know. I think they did such a good job of just imagining what the future could be, and making it feel real, you know?
So what age are you like doing laps on this VHS tape of Back to the Future 2? Like,
Probably like 6 or 7, maybe.
okay,
Gotta be. I mean, maybe like 7, 8.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
And what year is that?
That would be like early 90s.
Early 90s.
Yeah.
And those are Back to the Future 2. Speaking of product placement, there's the Nike pair of shoes that they're on
Hmm.
like StockX for like $12,000. Like you can
Yep.
buy them, right? Because they
Yeah,
made a
yeah.
few pairs of them,
They
right?
did. There was a big, it was for 2014, I think. They like all the brands did something that
Oh
year.
yeah.
It's actually disappointing because I was working on Pizza Hut at an ad agency that year, and we just totally missed it and didn't even do anything with it. It's like one of my big regrets that we
Oh
never
my
did a
God.
Back to the Future 2 tie-in.
That's such a bummer for
I
like
know.
you really let young Andy down there. Like,
I really messed up on that one. Yeah.
yeah, you could have fought for that one. Um, so yeah, as far as that sort of movie, now that you have kids, is that something you're like showing your kids or gonna show your kids and be like, this is really
This is
instrumental in my upbringing?
this is real American cinema. Yeah, I feel like anytime you put pressure on it, though, well, my kids don't like movies. That's the other problem. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they actually hate movies.
Wow, all of them, huh?
They they
That's big.
The only movies. Well, they'll watch like all day. They'll watch like opening up a ancient Egyptian tomb and seeing all the old mummies and creepy skeletons and stuff. But like movies, because it has like rising action and intensity and stuff, they get really freaked out by it for whatever reason. So the only the only movies they watch are that we figured out that they can watch are movies from like Disney in the 50s and stuff when there's no plot line, like Mary Poppins or The Absent-Minded Professor, where it's just black and white and nothing happens.
Wow.
So one day I hope to show my kids these movies, but it feels like it's going to be a few years because they're like actively against movies.
They might age. They might age into it a little bit.
I hope so.
Although I was talking to my neighbor the other day, and I think he's in late 40s, early 50s, and he was trying to tell me about his wife's new cafe, and he's like, do you like pie? And I just about said, who doesn't like pie? And he goes, I don't like pie. And I was like, what? And he goes, I don't like fruit. And I'm like, wow, dude, you're old to be like taking out an entire category of food. He's like, well, do tomatoes count? And I go, they're technically fruit. He's like, well, I like tomatoes.
Okay.
So who knows? I mean, you can stick with that stuff your entire life.
I had a coworker who told me he didn't like music, which I'm like, how is that possible, man? You literally just don't enjoy music, that nothing connects with you. He's probably a psychopath.
This is previous job or right now?
Previous job. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, you gotta fire that person, man. That's not
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Unless there's some sort of story behind it.
No.
So there's three movies in the series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you think? Do you think it's just because it was available you are so attached to Back to the Future 2, or what are your feelings about 1 and 3?
Good question. One always gets held up as, the plot line of 1 is insane. It's like, I love reading about it. When I dive into movies, I get all nerdy about them. The original plot line, instead of DeLorean, it was a refrigerator that Doc Brown and Marty McFly get into. That was how,
really?
in the original manuscript, it was a refrigerator with a flux capacitor on it. I guess like I never really connected with like the 1950s sensibility in the first one as much as the kind of future looking version in 2. And I also loved in 2 that that they go back to 1981 and then because they found the sports almanac and Biff gave it to himself, that the whole world is destroyed and turns into this like evil, this awful empire where Biff Tannen is running the whole place, and it's like biker gangs. It's such a great premise on like the world being destroyed, and then there's like a whole weird Trump parallel to that whole thing on that. I always like when I first started Liquid Death. Actually, I was trying to figure out like how we did, like why and how we did things the way we did. And I had this whole theory. I pitched this to my boss and he was like, no. But I have this whole theory that Liquid Death is a product from the Biff Tannen 2 timeline. I actually pitched this to him and he was like, "That no, don't say that again." But I was like, Liquid Death is just like water, how you'd market water in the Biff Tannen 2 timeline. And we just do it really straight, with like very straight faced, because that's how you do it in that timeline, is that you have heavy metal and has skulls on it and does, whatever. So for when I was first starting off, the Biff Tannen 2 timeline like really helped me try to like sort out my job when I first got here.
Yeah, it's like one of those it's like one of those things you hear. It exists in your brain for creative work, but you haven't shared it with very many people.
Yeah.
It's like things you find out musicians were like reading or listening to when they made this classic album, and like, oh, okay, I can see that now.
Yeah.
That's fun. This is also you have this list of uh, five creative things that we're going to talk about. This is only movie on your list.
Hmm.
Did you consciously pick that as the one movie, or would you even say it's your favorite movie of all time?
It's probably my favorite movie. I think
Okay.
so. Also, I'm very partial to Jurassic Park as well. I'm obviously
Yeah.
of a certain era, but I mean that thing is such a masterpiece when you go back and watch it.
Yeah.
It's so funny. That movie is so funny, which I don't know that I realized as a kid, but it's almost a comedy when you watch it.
Yeah, and what? Yeah, would you say it's unintentional comedy, or would
No,
you
I mean
say
it's
it?
Spielberg, so it's
Yeah.
he's kind of creating. It's fun. It's meant to be fun, even if it was terrifying velociraptors trying to rip your face off and stuff. But I'm obviously I'm that was a movie that was I think that was the first movie I thought saw in. This is my first PG-13 that I went and saw with my parents. They
Okay.
went and like saw it first without me to make sure it was okay that I could go see it, and then they brought me to it.
Oh,
It was a big
yeah.
deal.
I could see that. I think a lot more people would say that would agree with you using the word masterpiece to describe Jurassic Park than using the word masterpiece to describe Back to the Future 2. But
Yeah,
I don't. No offense. It's
that's okay. I
art's
get it.
subjective. We should
Yeah,
we should be able to love things because we love them. Yeah.
yeah.
Should we move on to number two? Is
Let's do it.
Calvin and Hobbes,
Yeah.
which is when our son was going to be born. I think it was 6 months before his due date. I bought like 30 or 40 books, just went on a rampage. Like, this kid's gonna grow up with books, and that was one of the things I bought was one of the collections of Calvin and Hobbes. I'm like, this is essential.
Yeah.
What what age are you when you first encounter Calvin and Hobbes?
Probably slightly after the Back to the Future 2 age.
Okay.
Probably, when 8 and 9 and 10 and um yeah, I mean, as I think every boy growing up, you like discover books and just dive into them. I mean, all the old Far Side stuff and all, I loved all that stuff. That's what I would walk out of libraries with, just giant piles of all of those kind of books. But Calvin and Hobbes is just such a it's it does what I think is so wonderful, which is it's highbrow, lowbrow in just the most elegant way possible. It's so it it it's cool now because my kids are reading it. They love it. And I, the jokes go way over their heads. It's, jokes about like taxes and, government oversight and all kinds of stuff. They don't get it, but that's what's so wonderful about it is you can enjoy it being a set. My kids are 4 and 6 again. Like, you enjoy it as a 4-year-old, and you can enjoy it as a full blown adult getting something out of it. And so I always loved it growing up, and now it's been really cool to be able to start sharing that with my kids again, even if they understand 20% of it. I think they see that there's something in there.
Yeah. Um, so are you checking this book out at the library when you're growing up? Where's the library? How often are you going? Like, what is that experience like
I
when
had
you're like 8 or
this
9?
growing up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We had in Cascade. There was a library there that it's funny. I was just thinking about the library the other day, like bad brown carpet and, you're still using the card catalog and that whole deal. But I was always, it's funny. My son's the same way. I was always like zeroed in at I forget exactly what side of the Dewey Decimal System, but it was like the 990s or something, which was all of like Bermuda Triangle and Bigfoot and, all of that stuff. Like that's the stuff. Even in my elementary school one, and then in the like local one, I was always checking out books about all that stuff. And now my son does too, which is really funny. And I love that they hid them like as far away in the system as they could. They were just like they're literally in the corner. But that's where I wanted to be.
Numeric.
But yeah, and then all kinds of whatever comic books. I feel like it was like, what was it? Burke Breathes or something. They were
Oh
all
yeah, Berkeley breathed. Yeah.
Berkeley Breathed.
Wow.
All right. There's a
What was
lot
the
of old
name?
stuff like that.
Yeah. I went through a Garfield phase when I was probably
Yeah, lots of
six.
Garfield.
And then now people hate Garfield, and it makes me kind of sad, but
Yeah.
it makes 6-year-old me sad. I thought it was so
Yeah.
clever at the time.
Yeah.
Um, what so do you remember, do you own a Calvin and Hobbes book from when you were a kid still?
Yeah, they're all on my son's shelf now. So we
Oh,
found them.
really?
Yeah, yeah. So I've got The Days Are Just Packed.
Yep.
What else? Psycho Jungle Cat, Homicidal Psycho Jungle Cat. What else? The names are escaping me, but yeah, we've got all of
Yeah.
them. The one I really liked was there was a 10th anniversary Treasury one where Bill Watterson went through and kind of it was sort of it had like just a little bit of a line of a description underneath each strip, starting from kind of the beginning all the way over the course of the strip. And he had just little comments kind of describing what he was doing or what was going on. And I always thought that was so cool, was kind of seeing the brain behind the whole operation and getting his take on it, because he was really, I mean, really groundbreaking in the stuff he was doing by breaking panels. I mean, it's cool to see him as you go on chronologically. He starts with very simple, pretty straightforward drawings. And by the, if you get into the final books, it might be just a single giant image on the Sunday one, or, he's fully broken them up into all these, different panels. He was really deconstructing kind of what a comic could be and building it in whatever he wanted to. And, again, I just think it's so cool to see someone experiment like that just on a page. Yeah.
Yeah. This age you're at, you're reading this stuff. Are you like class clown in school? Are you trying to be funny? Or
I definitely dressed up as an old lady in fourth grade to help my friend get elected to class president. I vaguely remember like in like a wig, like running out into the gym, yelling at people to vote for my friend for vice president. I don't know if I was like class clown, but I was a goofy kid. I was having fun.
yeah, like I guess I'm asking, like, are you trying to make people laugh at this point in your life? Are you sort of like taking lessons from the books? Are you finding a sense of humor in it and like?
Yeah, I mean, I think, but the Calvin and Hobbes stuff it's not like funny for making people laugh. It's more like funny for an insight in a way.
Yep.
I think it's kind of a different style of humor. I don't know. Did you read any of that stuff growing up? Or
Yeah,
ever?
I was a big Calvin and Hobbes fan. I went through a phase, and I think it's one of those things. To me, it's the only example I think of now, because I haven't been in this universe very long, but where it makes kids laugh for some reason, but it makes adults laugh as well, is
Yeah.
like the Lego movie. Like all these movies my brother would watch when his kids were like 6, 7, 8, and he would always say stuff like, "It's actually pretty fun," and it was a thing, and I'm sure it's true for a lot of like Pixar movies and stuff where there's stuff for the adults too. It's like you
Yeah.
get the kids in the theater because they want to see whatever, but the adults can have a good time too. They're not just sitting through it and being like, "Oh my God, when is this over?" And I think there's stuff like The Far Side, like you mentioned, and like Calvin and Hobbes too, where there's quite a bit of adult humor, but somehow it's like got a foot, can please both parties.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a memory of seeing it in the newspaper too?
Um, I think I mostly got it through books because
Yeah.
that way I could just read it straight through. I
Yep.
wanted to like do that, but yeah, I was always a big Sunday comics. Like that straight to that. Pulled it out on Sunday. Like sat in the back seat in the car on the way to church reading the comics. That was the best part of my day. Did you
Yeah.
grow? I mean, did you grow up like obsessed with comics too,
I don't think
or
I
was
was
that?
obsessed. Yeah, I just remember having I have very strong feelings about Peanuts, Calvin and
Mm,
Hobbes. The Far Side was huge. There was this one called BC that was sort of
oh
about
yeah,
cave people.
yeah,
Doonesbury. I mean, I can see these in my
yeah,
um, mind's eye, and I can remember sitting with like a bowl of breakfast cereal, looking over the comics and just shoveling cereal into my mouth. But
yeah.
yeah, I never developed into like any sort of real cartoonist. But and a few, it's like a year or two ago, this Washington Post, or it was this guy who's a cartoonist who makes, I forget the name of the comic strip, but like multiple people saw it in the Washington Post, and he had like sort of taken a panel of mine and like drawn it and like literally said, my favorite new cartoonist is semi rad, and put it in. And everybody who sent it to me was like over 65. They were like, "Hey, you made it in the Washington Post." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So it kind of, I don't know. It's that age of people. It's like not, we're not reading newspapers anymore. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I wish I could do that sort of stuff. And now it's more like I follow New Yorker cartoonists on Instagram, and I
Hmm.
really in awe of that like sort of skill set, and putting that stuff on the page and being able to tell that story in a single panel. But I also am like,
Yeah.
wonder what's the average age of the audience there. Is this a dying art, and whatever,
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like trying to, I guess I'm looking at your list and I'm thinking like, how do you connect this childhood stuff to your current job that's like, a lot of humor and a lot of like weird sense of humor and stuff. And
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't connect, but
No, I think it does. Like, I think it's that highbrow, lowbrow thing, and I think some of my other stuff have that on the list too. That that's what always has fascinated me. That kind of, can you be like, there is real intelligence and stupidity if you accept that, and that's the kind of stuff that I love. Like things that are just so dumb that they're brilliant, or vice versa. You know.
yeah.
So that's why Calvin could, one strip could be about him, being just a little brat who wants to watch TV, and the next one will be about a dead bird that he found that will like make you cry. It
Yeah.
was able to accomplish both seamlessly, which was really cool about it, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. That is interesting to think about. Now I'm trying to think of other examples, but yeah. Well, speaking of highbrow, lowbrow,
Yeah.
next item on your list is "I Get Wet" by Andrew WK,
Hell yeah.
or really the entire thing that is Andrew WK. It,
Do you know who this is?
yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
used to sit across when I worked at a newspaper. I used to sit across from this guy John, who was I would say he's more of a metalhead, but he knew tons about music, like from jazz to like hip hop to everything. And he had so many. He was pretty shy and like a little bit socially awkward. Eventually, went to law school, and he was a huge Andrew WK fan, which was sort of unexpected because he's such a brilliant guy. And I remember him explaining Andrew WK to me, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, great. And yeah, what when do you remember first encountering his music and being like immediately into it, or
Oh yeah.
what happened?
2001, that first single came out, Party Hard. It was on MTV, and the best part of it was, if you watch the video, the best part is like, you're like, is this a joke or is this serious? And that's the kind of stuff I love. That's like my favorite kind of thing. I mean, that's what Liquid Death is. It's like, is this a joke or is this serious? And the answer is both. Yes to both, right? And that, yeah, it just came out, and and it's this like long haired dude punching himself in the face in a mirror, bleeding out of his nose, and then just singing about partying. That album, the first album has 4 songs with the word party in the title. I think it's like 4 out of the 10 songs on the album have the word party. It's like party hard, party till you puke, party hardy or something. Yeah, it's so fun and infectious, and it's so dumb. And yeah, there again, I think there's like a certain brilliance to what he's doing there. Because it's kind of satire, but it's kind of an invitation just to be dumb. And just as like a person, he's a really interesting dude. He always talks about the power of positive partying. He's kind of become a like like a, I don't know, some kind of like life coach, but like metal dude. And I saw him play a year after that album came out. I went to the University of Georgia, and he came and played the 40 Watt Club, which is this really tiny but like famous club in Athens. And it's still to this day the best show I've ever seen in my entire life. It was awesome. At any given time, there were like 20 people on stage from the audience. He wasn't singing half the time because the crowd was singing so loud. He would pick people up and put them on his shoulders and just like march them around stage with people on his shoulders. I was up on stage a couple times. At some point after the show, my friend was like, didn't have a shoe on. He's like, I lost my shoe. And and he wandered backstage and found that his shoe was in the back with like a bite mark in it. And we realized that like he had taken his shoe, or somebody had taken his shoe and like thrown it on stage, and Andrew WK like grabbed it, bites the shoe and then like throws it backstage, and that was his shoe. It was just an insane show. It was so much fun, and it was just, it was a big love fest too. Like I think that was what was so cool about it was just all these people coming together, kind of loving in their own weird way. So yeah, that's what I think is so cool about him. And then also there's a whole conspiracy theory. I don't know if your friend told you all about that whole side to it as well.
You should share it, because
okay.
I would not do it. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's been a while since I've fully, so I might biff some of this, but basically there's a conspiracy theory that he was replaced by another person. That the original Andrew WK is not the Andrew WK we have now. And you can go down this whole rabbit hole of people have like analyzed the singing and analyzed his looks and how he's changed. And there's like a distinct moment where like the first guy was Andrew WK, now the new guy is Andrew WK, but they're not the same person. But it's definitely, and then there's this whole theory that it's like this weird art project kind of done by like music Illuminati types who are all kind of creating this like character of Andrew WK and putting it out, which I actually think has some validity. I think it is actually this sort of conceptual art project. And I don't know to which degree, but I think there's some validity to that whole idea, which again, I'm like, is this a joke or not? Does it matter? It's great.
Yeah. And it, like, the depth, you can basically experience him through any amount of depth. You can be like, oh yeah, I like that song. Or you can be like full on.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the Exit Through the Gift Shop, the Banksy movie.
Mm-hmm.
And now, does that guy real? That guy's not real, right?
Mr. Brainwash?
Yeah.
Was that his name?
He's not real. Is he?
Yeah. No.
It was just a thing created by Banksy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole other level of performance art there.
Yeah.
I had a question I was going to ask. So how many people were at this show, do you think?
I mean, how many people can you get in the 40 Watt? Maybe 300 or 400?
300. Okay.
Maybe 300, yeah.
And did you why do you think nothing else has I guess no other show has been better than that for you?
Because it was so intimate and it was so like fun. It was just like totally unabashed fun in a way that I don't think is allowed a lot of times. And I don't think it's like like
Huh.
like music is
Do
so
you
supposed to be cool.
what's the question?
Well, it was
Yeah.
just it was so like over the top and fun, and it didn't. No one cared, and like I said, dudes are just like literally hugging on each other, and like it was just it was such a positive atmosphere. And granted, everyone was like drenched in beer and everything, but it was such a. I just don't think you can replicate like that kind of positivity in this kind of weird way, you know?
Do you think you had a sense at the time that that was like gonna be a once in a lifetime experience? Because I assume, did you go to an Andrew WK show after that?
That's the only one I've been to. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, at the time I was like, that's the best show I've ever seen. And it's still to this day, I'm pretty sure. It was actually, and it was also, here's another random thing about that night. It was on September 11th, 2002. So
Oh, wow.
it was, the anniversary of September 11th. And he has a
Wow.
song called I Love New York City. That was on the first album. And so he like obviously played that. And it's a really dumb song. The lyrics are just like, I love New York City. Oh yeah, New York City. It's like the whole. Those are basically the whole lyrics. But I just remember that was kind of a cool moment too. Is that this kind of tribute? You know, like a year later.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it's the question is like, does art actually have to be smart or have depth? You know, it's like it
No.
doesn't. You know, you can just enjoy it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
That whole conspiracy theory just reminds me of like a lot of those series of books. Like I grew up with the Hardy Boys, the two detective
Uh-huh.
brothers. That I don't think the actual author was ever a real person. I think it was just a collective. And they did this happened with it's there's like multiple books like that where they were started by someone who wrote, you know, 10 of them or whatever, and then they either retired or died or whatever, and then someone else picked it up, or the
Yeah.
publisher picked it up, and they would just like hire people to ghostwrite the same characters. There's multiple cases of that, and I'm trying to remember if they're the Hardy Boys. I think was never really an actual author. It was just a like a pen name for a bunch of people at the publishing company.
Right. It just always said like the Hardy Boys on it, didn't it? It like
Yeah,
didn't bother to
yeah.
have an author's name or something.
No, it's Franklin W. Dixon, but I don't know if
Okay.
it's a real person. So,
That definitely sounds
yeah.
like a fake name.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Should we move on to On the Road?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on the road was just, um, again, like this is, I feel like, I found this book when I was in college and was starting to travel a lot or after traveling after college. And it just has kind of been a book that I always, for whatever reason, I'll always take with me when I'm traveling, and which is so on the nose. It's like, yeah, okay, you're on the road, you're gonna read on the road, but but there's such a kind of exuberance in that book, and just sort of a lust for life, kind of that it really hit me, and so it's maybe not even the book itself. It's kind of like what the book represents. So for me, I've got a degree in advertising in college and Spanish, and then a minor in Portuguese. And I knew I was going to eventually go back to go do more school to do the advertising thing. But I was like, I'm never going to use my Spanish or Portuguese. So I just after college just went down to South America for like half a year. I was actually planning on living down there for a few years. and just kind of like traveling around and living in a different country every year. And ended up instead just like kind of bumming around for as long as I could, as long as my money would allow. And it was like the book kind of hit me at the same time. And as I was doing that, and, just getting to meet all these different characters when you're out there doing something like that, the book itself just really connected with me on a kind of a really personal level, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think I read it when I was 15 or 16, and like discovered it through, I think it was a biography of Jim Morrison or something like that, from the Doors.
Yeah.
I was living in like the very small town in Iowa and had never been anywhere, and it was like this sort of thing that showed you that the world was out there, and it was a big exciting thing. I don't think I picked up on a lot of like did you see the movie adaptation for it that came out it's like 10 years ago? I didn't think I realized that oh my God, his his last name Cassidy, Neil Cassidy, was actually like hustling men like to get them money until I saw the movie, and I was like, I need to go back and read that book. That wasn't a big thing in the 50s that you talked about a lot, but yeah, Neil Cassidy appears in On the Road, and then he's in the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. Just shows up driving the bus like however many years later. Like, wow, what a life.
Yeah. Well, I love that it was like autobiographical, but the names are different, and it just, again, it's like this mushy world is like, how real is this? It's pretty real, but we've changed some of the stuff. And again, like that kind of like middle ground has always been really interesting to me, when it's sort of true, but maybe not quite. And what can you do with that? Also, I love the fact that, like, I mean, he wrote that on the scroll, like just one giant manuscript. It's so insane. I love it.
They, the owner of that was like the guy who owned the Indianapolis Colts. And at one point when I lived in Denver, they had the scroll at the library, and they just put it out. It was like probably 40 feet long or more in this glass case, and you could walk up and see the actual manuscript, and it was just sitting there. It was wild.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's like one of those stories about writers where, people are like, oh, Jack Kerouac wrote that in like 86 hours, just like popping Benzedrine the entire time or whatever. And it turns out to not quite be true. It's like, yeah, he wrote it pretty fast, but it maybe wasn't that fast.
It was
but
like 3 weeks or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was something like that. Yeah. And then he edited it for years.
So how do you think that, besides the trip to South America, did it continue to sort of influence or did it get you started on like a travel kick or a like creativity, or did it like how did it influence you later on after that?
Yeah, I think I mean, travel, I mean, this sounds dumb, but travel's always been really important to me. I did that trip, but then I've also my wife and I actually we quit our jobs for a year in the middle of our careers. Like, she was freelance and I was at an agency, and we decided before we had kids, we were going to just quit and travel while we could. And so we took a whole year off and ended up going to like Southeast Asia for a while, and then spent the summer in Amsterdam, and then I traveled all over Colorado for a bit of the summer. We spent a whole year doing that kind of thing. And I think obviously like travel is such a wonderful, eye-opening experience. But I think like in particular, like to me, that kind of like dirtbag traveling is the kind that I like to do, when it's like staying in hostels out of a backpack. Like, that's, to me, that's the real thing. That's how you really see a place and how you get to know it. I was just down in Mexico last week, and to speak at some conference, and it was nice, but we were at this like super fancy resort. We were down on like near like Playa del Carmen, like south of Cancun, and it was really cool. but all I wanted to do all day was like leave the property and go actually out and see like what was actually out there. And no one else, I don't think anybody else that was at this thing like ever left this really nice resort to go outside. And I was just like, this is not what traveling is. The point of traveling is not to sit by a pool somewhere else, you know? It's just, and that kind of thing is crazy to me. I'd rather stay at like a hotel, for, you know, hostel for like $5 a night, living with like like a backpack with like 2 shirts in it or something.
Yeah. I had the exact same experience, like right before the pandemic, in 2020 in the Bahamas. Like it was the only time I was there, but the bridge literally connects the island to the islands on the resorts on an island. That's where this conference was, and there's the bridge that goes across the mainland. It was like completely different, situation over there. And but everybody was like, "You gonna come down to the beach later?" I'm like, oh, probably not. Like, I'm not really a beach guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. Sometimes I don't know if that's the point is actually traveling. I think it's like, just going someplace nice where everything's taken care of and whatever. I don't know, but I hear you. Same deal. Did you read other Kerouac books after that, or yeah?
Yeah, like Electric Acid Kool-Aid Test and Desperation Angels and all that stuff. Yeah.
You know the fire lookout on have you been up there?
Mm-mm.
It's kind of cool. It's like I think it's a 10-mile one-way hike up like 3,000 or 4,000 feet to Desolation Peak, but you have to get there via boat first. And I think it's normally just like a water taxi. They'll just like drop you off there and you can do the hike or run it, whatever. But we were late in the season and had to they'll just rent you a boat and it's just like a little outboard motor.
Oh, cool.
But it's a really pretty spot. You can see it being pretty inspiring as far as writing, or just being alive, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one is Boys and Girls in America by the Hold Steady.
Yes.
Chronologically, where is this in life for you?
Slightly after. I mean, that came out in 2006, I think, was when that came out. It's a good segue because I think the first line from that is a Sal Paradise reference back to On the Road. Like the first line from the entire album is the first line is, I think that Sal Paradise was right. Boys and girls in America have such a sad time together. Which is cool. Yeah. I mean, again, Hold Steady is like, for a writer, I think Craig Flynn is just one of the, I think, greatest songwriters of all time. He's has like a really amazing way to have these little turns of phrases and paint these pictures of all these different characters that kind of inhabit the universe that he's making in the same way. I mean, very similar to like the Kerouac kind of where it's like this whole kind of party scene of all these different people crashing together and having sort of ecstatic and euphoric experiences, and then also people having these, the opposite of that, just being at the hitting rock bottom and having all these something terrible. So but it's and then it's also just really fun to listen to. But the songwriting is so good. My friend and I always go back and forth over text on trying to find new albums that are, I forget what we call them. It's like all the way through bangers or something. And it's like what are albums that every single track is good? Because there'll be really good albums, but there are a few albums where every single track is like it could be the best song ever. This is definitely one of those albums for sure.
Okay. Yeah, there's Shea Serrano, the writer, has he had a podcast called No Skips with somebody else where they just talk about hip hop albums that you don't skip. But
yeah,
where are you in life, and geographically, where are you when you discover this album?
I was in I must have been in Atlanta. I was in advertising school with friends, and yeah, it was a kind of a crazy time. We were in this ad school for like 2 years, and it was just wild. It was where I learned to like really be creative. It was kind of the first time that I was like, oh, I can be a writer. That I'm literally going to school to become a writer. And so we were taking all these classes on like literally the first class was just this class about how to be creative, where we're just keeping a sketchbook full of all kinds of, insane experimental art that we're making. And I'm really writing, like filling up notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of stuff for the first time that I'd ever really done. And yeah, so this, my friend was like, hey, there's this band, Hold Steady. Or she gave me a mixtape of stuff, a mixed CD of stuff, and it had it on there when you used to make mixed CDs. And yeah, and I was just like, what is this? And just dove right in, and I've seen them a bunch of times live. I think I've probably seen them live more than any other bands, probably.
Like a dozen times, or like
Yeah, like 10, like maybe 8 times.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't get to see as many shows as I used to.
Why is that? Yeah, it's because they all start so late, man. It's too late. It's so late. Um, what was the question I was just gonna ask you? So this advertising school, do you end up with like a master's degree, or what's the?
No. You end up with a certificate. It's like totally worthless. So there's this place called the Creative Circus, which on top of like, for some parents that are like, I'm sorry, you don't get a degree and it's called the Creative Circus. Absolutely not. I mean, my parents are cool about it. But you get a portfolio out of it at the end of it. You have this body of work that you're like, here, hire me because this is what my brain looks like. And this is what my brain can do.
It sounds super interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a wild time. It was just, like 100 kids in this warehouse in the middle of nowhere in Atlanta, just learning to be weird, and then eventually kind of directing that into making something smart. But it starts off by just, we were taking like improv classes sometimes, and learning to write for radio, or I was taking design and photography classes and all kinds of other stuff along with all my writing. So it was cool. You got to kind of almost unlearn all the stuff that you'd learned in college, which was like how to do stuff properly, So it was a really fun time. And really some of my best friends are from those 2 years.
Yeah. Did you hear about it through school, and how did you go there? How did you decide to go there?
I was doing, like I said, an advertising degree at the University of Georgia. And in my last year, I kind of was like, oh, I want to do creative, not advertising. Because advertising, you can be like, I sell media, or I'm an account person or something. And I kind of thought I liked it, but I in my like at my very, very end, I was like, oh, I want to do the creative part. And then I was like, oh, okay, I have to go to school again. So I knew leaving college that I was going to go back and take more school, which is actually why I went and traveled, because I was like, I can go travel and do that for however long I want. And then it's quarterly basis, so I can come back and just apply to school whenever I run out of money in South America, basically.
Huh.
Yeah.
It sounds like art school, but sort of like you can actually make a living when you get done, maybe?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, you don't make a living at the beginning, and then it can turn okay. But yeah, that's how I describe it to people. I'm like, it's art school, basically. It's like we had teachers. Our first assignment the first day was like, go to a strip club and observe the women that are visiting it. It's like,
wow.
Also, the school was in Atlanta, in this area that was just like tucked behind like 20 strip clubs. So it was a very easy assignment. But it was like, it was just kind of, it was a whole class about understanding people and target market and stuff. And it was like, go watch the women who are visiting the club to like, why are they there? What are they getting out of it? And that kind of thing. And so, yeah, we're just doing all kinds of crazy stuff all the time. It was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to be located by a shopping mall, but now we're by strip clubs. We used to send people to the shopping mall, but we just send you to the strip. It's closer.
It's easiest. Yeah.
Same thing. Same sort of marketing. All of these seem to be of like all of these were before eight. I don't normally do this. It's supposed to be like your 5 favorite things, but
Yeah.
it seems like the last one we talked about, you were in your mid-20s when you picked it up.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's really blown your mind in the last, say, 5 or 6 years of your life that you can think of off the top of your head?
Oh man. Probably not. You know what? Do you know what I saw recently that I loved, that I thought was so amazing, was The Curse.
I haven't seen it.
Did you see the Nathan Fielder? It's this Nathan Fielder show. I love all things Nathan Fielder, and for the same reason. It's like, is this real? Is this a joke? And The Curse is such a unique show that it's so unnerving in a way that I've never seen a television show be able to pull off. The music is so like so sinister, and in it, I think it's a real masterpiece. Not to throw that word around, but The Curse is cool. I basically I didn't watch it for a long time because I was like, I don't have Showtime. So of course I signed up for a free trial, watched it all in 1 week, and then canceled my Showtime subscription immediately. But I suggest anyone go do that, because it's a really unique show that I've never seen anyone do anything close to that before.
Yeah, he kind of like, I'd never heard of him, and then all of a sudden he's just sort of everywhere. And like, he executive produced How To with John Wilson.
Oh man, I love that show.
Which, it's incredible. I've been following that guy for years, ever since he did the like how to get rid of bed bugs video on Vimeo, like 12 years ago or whatever. Yeah. He's amazing. I want to be conscious of your time. This is awesome, man. Thanks so much. I love doing this. This is so fun.
It's cool. It makes you like have to like think about your whole life in totality. I love it. It's a good assignment.
Like, what are we but collections of things we like, and or that's one way to look at it anyway. So this is awesome. I'll put like links to everything in show notes when I eventually get this up as a podcast episode. But thanks so much for your time, and we'll end it there.
Cool.